Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Sanggit Osat. I'm from class Methodology Islamic Studies B. This video is a summary of our course Methodology of Islamic Studies. We have learned many topics of this semester. In this in this video, I will summarize 14 meetings is a clear and organized way. Let's begin. In our first topic, we learn about introduction to methodology Islamic studies. Islamic studies, the academic and systematic study of Islamic teachings. We learn to differentiate between normative Islam, which is ideal and comes from revelation, and historical Islam, which is how Muslims understand and practice their religion in different social and cultural contexts. Why is methodology important? Because without a clear method or understanding of Islam and become subjective and incomplete. Methodology helps you think critically and understand Islam more comprehensive. There are several main approaches in studying Islam. Technological normative approach focus on sacred text. Historical approach look at the background and context. Sociological approach studies the relationship between religion and society. Anthropological approach sees religion as part of culture, and philosophical approach seeks deep meaning throughout reason. Next, we discuss the history of Islamic studies. Islam began with the Prophet, Prophet Muhammad's preaching in Mecca, which was done greatly at first. After the migration to Medina, Islam grew up rapidly and became to just a religion, but also social and political system. Islam as Islam spread through various channels: trade, social interaction, marriage, and education. Muslim traders were known for their honesty and good ethics, which attract many people to learn about Islam. The aspects studied in Islamic studies are very broad, including worship and spirituality, morality and ethics, politics, law, history itself. In the modern era, Islamic continues to grow with the help of technology, education, and globalization, and now pressing and can be done through digital media. And as Islamic studies have become more interdisciplinary. Okay, the next topic we discuss religion and human life. We learn that humans have a natural inclination toward religion called fitrah. This is the basic potential to recognize and submit to God. Humans have limit means there are many things that logic cannot reach, especially matters that are unseen. This is where religion comes is a gate and complement. Religion has five functions in human life: sorts of morality, providence standards of right and wrong, get to thought, answer question that reason cannot answer, guidance for life, give direction and purpose, social control, regulates behavior according to norms, and psychological function, provide peace and help strength in facing problem. Okay, and the next topics we discuss the characteristic and dimension of Islamic teachings. Islam is not just ritual religion, but a complete way of life. The characteristic of Islam can be seen in various fields: faith or akidah, pure belief in the oneness of God; worship or ibadah includes specific worship, prayer, fasting, zakat, hajj, and general good deeds. And morality or akhlak, inner qualities that produce good or bad action. Science and culture is Islamic is open and adaptive, but remains selective. And education, a right for everyone, lifelong learning, and social emphasis mutual help and quality. Economy, justice, prohibition of usury and fraud, and politics, trustworthiness, justice, and deliberation. Islam also has three dimensions that are interconnected. In first is akidah, the foundation of belief, and the next is sharia, these rules and law in life, and the the next is akhlak, the fruit of faith and deeds, the reflection of a Muslim's personality. These three are like a tree. Akidah is a root. Sharia is trunk and branches, and akhlak is fruit. The next topic is we look at Islam as a culture phenomenon. Islamic is not just understood and revelation, but also as living phenomenon that develops in society. Culture has three forms: system of ideas, system of action, and system of material objects. Islam appears is all three: as a belief system, as pattern of daily behavior, and as product of civilization like mosque, calligraphy, and Islamic arts. Exam- example, example, example of Islam as culture phenomenon in Indonesia is tahlilan, Maulid as celebration, halal bihalal, dress ethics, and the culture of saying salam. These practices are not just worship but also social and cultural identity. Okay, the next topic we discuss methods in Islamic studies. There are several approaches used to understand Islam holistically. The first anthropological method understanding Islam through culture and community tradition. And two sociological method saying Islam as social practice. Mm, and three philosophical method exploring the meaning and wisdom of Islamic teachings, rationality. And next is historical method, understanding Islam through its historical journey. And the five is normative method is based directly on the Quran and Hadith. This method have a main goals helping use understand Islamic teaching correctly, developing critical broadening our knowledge, and adjusting our understanding to the development of the times. Okay, guys, and the next topics we will discuss between religious research and religiosity research. Religious research or research on religion focus on doctrine and teaching that are normative. The object are sacred texts, scholars, and religious teachings. The approach is more textual and theological. Meanwhile, religiosity research or religious research focus on practice and social phenomena related to religious life. The object are people's behavior, religion, tradition, social interaction, and the influence of religion in society. The approach is more empirical and sociological. Another difference, religion research inducative from text to reality, while religiosity research is inductive or from reality to theory. On the next topic, we discuss models of Quranic exegesis research. There are several main models that have developed. The one is Tahlil exegesis, expand verses in detail in order. Example, Tafsir at Tabari, and two is Ijmali exegesis, explains verses briefly and globally. Example is Tafsir al-Jalalain, and in the next Quran exegesis is compares various interpretation of scholar on certain verses. And next is Mudda'i or thematic exegesis is collect all verses on one topic and analysis them together, very relevant for contemporary issue. And the next contextual exegesis considers historical context and current condition. And the next is interdisciplinary exegesis is combines exegesis with social science, economic, or science. And the next is hermeneutic exegesis, emphasizes dialogue between text, interpreter, and social context. The next topics we discuss models of Hadith research. Hadith has three elements: the First is sanad, which is the chain of narrators. Second is matan, which is the text content. And the third is rawi, which is the narrator. In classical research models, the focus is several things. First is sanad research, which means of assessing the narrator's credibility, checking their justice and memory, examining the chain continuity, and finding hidden defects. Second is matan research, which means examining whether the hadith content is compatible with the Quran or other hadith, common sense, and historical facts. Third is Third is combined research, which means combining sanad and matan analysis together. In contemporary research models, there are several developments. Yusuf Qaradawi offers as method with 6 steps. These are aligning the hadith with the Quran, collecting hadith with the Samdam, reconciling contradiction, looking at the context, distinguishing between means and goals, and distinguishing between literal and figure meanings. Muhammad Al-Ghazali offers another method. He suggests comparing hadith with the Quran, comparing it with other hadith, comparing it with history, and comparing it with science. There is also the thematic method, which means collecting hadith based on specific themes, and there is the historical method like isnat, Kamen analysis, or ICMA, which is used to trace the dating of hadith. Okay, the next topic is ijtihad as a source and method in Islamic studies. Ijtihad means serious effort. In technical term, it is the censure of effort of a qualified scholar to derive Islamic law from the Quran and Hadith for matters that are not explicitly addressed. The position of ijtihad is that it is the third source of Islamic law after the Quran and Hadith. If a matter is not found in these two main sources, then ijtihad can be performed. The role of ijtihad in Islamic studies is very important. It helps us understand Islamic source contextually. It helps develop Islamic law according to changing times. It helps renew Islamic law, which is called tajdid, and it helps answer contemporary issues like digital transaction, artificial intelligence, and genetic engineering. There are requirements for a person to do ijtihad. They must master the Quran, Hadith, Arabic language, Usul Fiqh, and Maqasid Sharia. Making a mistake in ijtihad still earns a reward. However, the result must not contradict the Quran and Hadith. Okay, the next topic is Islamic in the era of globalization. Globalization brings both opportunity and challenge for Muslims. We learn three epistemological approaches to respond to globalization. The first is the Bayani approach. This is based on text and revelation. It preserves Islamic identity, filter information, and ensure that response remain within the framework of the Quran and Sunnah. Bayani Ijtihad becomes an adaptation mechanism. The second is Burhani approach. This is based on logic and rationality. It helps Muslims analyze globalization critically, sorting good and bad influence with strong arguments. Dialogue with science and technology becomes more productive. The third is Irfani approach. This is based on spiritual experience and intuition. It provides inner strength amid materialism and secularism. It teaches love and connects to God as spiritual fortress. There are opportunities from globalization. These include digital pricing, global community networks, access to knowledge, and the development of Islamic economics. There are also challenges from globalization. These include secularism, materialization, identity crisis, Western culture hegemony, and distortion of religion understanding. Okay, the next topic is contemporary Islam dynamics. Modern Islamic thought is marked by various approaches. The first is cultural Islam, which means spreading Islam to local culture and tradition. The second is cultural Islam, which means the role of Islam in social, educational, economic, and political institutions. And the third is post-traditionalism, which means breaking classical intellectual heritage with modern demands like democracy, human rights, pluralism, and social justice. There are patterns of religiosity among Muslims. The fundamentalist group hold firmly to textual interpretation. The liberal group emphasizes freedom of thought and openness. The modernist group is in the middle, maintaining basic values while accepting progress. There are challenges faced by Muslims today. These include radicalism, extremism, identity crisis, and foreign culture influence. The solution include religion moderation, which is Khaled Wasia, balanced Islamic education, and good digital literacy. Okay, and the final or the last topic is religion of Islamic studies. Islamic studies develop but differently in three main region. The first religion in West Islamic studies is the West is rooted in Orientalism. Its characteristic are objective, academic, secular, critical, and interdisciplinary. Important figures include Agnes Goldsilver, Joseph Sketch, W. Montgomery Dewitt, and John Esposito. Their contribution include modern research method and historical critical approaches. However, there is criticism there is colonial bias, is too textual, and lacks appreciation to spiritual dimension. And the second region is in the Islamic world, especially the Middle East. Its characteristics are an insider perspective, normative approach, and strong basis in classical heritage. In the classical period, center of study were in Mecca, Medina, Baghdad with Bait al-Hikmah, and Cordoba. In the medieval period, they shifted to Cairo, Istanbul, Isfahan, and Delhi. In the modern period, there was reform, renewal, and ijtihad. And the third region is Indonesia. Its characteristics are integrative, inclusive, and based on local wisdom. It is rooted in pesantren and madrasah tradition. Its development from IAIN to UIN with an interconnected approach. Its distinctive feature is religious moderation, which is called Wasiyah, and the integration of religion general sense. Important figures include Harun Nashyan, Nurholis Masjid, and Amin Abdullah. Okay, from the all topics we have studied, there are several important points to conclude. First, methodology is the key to understanding Islam holistically. We cannot rely only on normative or textual approaches. We must see Islam from various perspectives, including historical, social, cultural, and philosophical. And the second, Islam is a dynamic and contextual religion. It is able to grow and adapt to changing times without losing its essence. This is seen in its history, the diversity of regional studies, and its response to globalization. Third, as Muslim in the modern era, we need balanced understanding. We need to be strong in faith, both in knowledge, critical and in thinking, and noble in character. From these quotes, I learned that understanding Islam is not enough just by reading text. We must also look at the context, understand the history, and respect difference. I also that methodology is not just a tool, it is a way of thinking that shapes us to be more wise, tolerant, and not easily provoked. I hope the knowledge we gain this semester can be applied in our daily life. Let us be Muslims who are not only academically smart but also have integrity, empathy, and real contribution to society. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.